over the 90 days, while the team was fixing something, that doesn't mean that the other part of the team couldn't go ahead with their own part of development and integration. So, and this comes like the sexy, exciting part, right? So far, you've only heard people working on the validation script. So smart contracts in Cardano, they are really well taught, and they differs from other solutions we have into the market, like for instance Ethereum and other competitors, where the entirety of the whole smart contract lives on the blockchain. I'm not going to go give too many details, but in Cardano we only have basically a string, that a hash that represents the validation script on the blockchain. And this is, on one side, this is fantastic because it means that on the blockchain will grow very slow and we will not have to persist lots of data. But on the flip side, it creates challenges. But from challenges, they also create opportunities. And this is where the PAB, the Plutus application backend, that is a very fashionable word these days into the Cardano world. And you can think about this PAB as if you've been in tech or something. I don't know if you ever heard about microservices. So you can think about PAB as a Haskell microservices where you can build very complicated transactions. And these transactions are nothing else than the smart contracts. And when I realized all these beautiful things, it was just like a mind-blowing moment, and it really makes you understand how well designed and taught Cardano is. So just to go back to why I went off on this tangent, is that Kevin Hammond announced in the mid-month that they actually made huge progress also on the PAB. That was something that they would have focused more into purple, but it's actually going to be looked into and start to play around in the second half of Alonzo White. So end of July, we should have PAB start to be tested and integrated on the blockchain. So we were talking about the transition, the current testing, and then the future. So soon we will go into purple as well. So everything seems to be going fine. Questions? If you're all still awake. If you're all still awake.
No, I have. My first question was, if you don't mind sharing, what has been some use cases that just maybe have come to mind for you through your experience working on the testnet, or maybe things you hadn't thought of before that now came to mind as potential for you?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Just as far as implementing, smart contracts on Cardano, seeing it under the hood the way you have, are there any use cases that maybe you didn't think of before this experience? Maybe you've thought, oh, this would be a great way to, create an app for this or that.
So I originally thought that most as an actual use case, this really opens the gate to anything that could require an interaction with the blockchain. So you can really take any arbitrary complex piece of logic and implement it. And the beautiful thing is that it's not going to pollute the blockchain, because this is going to be living somewhere else. And this also opens up to the fact that now we all know that Haskell is a beautiful language, but it's not a very easy one. And having this part of the code outside of the blockchain gives you the flexibility of implement any to be able to then implement in Java, .NET, you name it, JavaScript, if you then realize the proper technology to translate Java into Haskell or to create bindings or whatever. But this also means that Cardano is really designed to scale incredibly well. Yeah, like I can't think of anything that I wasn't thinking before, but like all DEXs and oracles, they really have that. They will design those things. It should be much easier to think about on a blockchain like Cardano rather than Ethereum, for instance, where all the code needs to be very well optimized in order to not pollute too much the blockchain.
I'm going to ask a very basic question, and a question that people, I think, want to ask, but maybe they think it's not a good one. Anyway, when smart contracts, like when are we going to see smart contracts on the mainnet, and do you expect that to launch on the date that we were predicting?
So which is August, right?
Dates, they were saying, it's my understanding that they should make testnet sometimes in August, and then it's really up to the integration with partners, right? So exchanges and all this kind of jazz. And that's always an unknown. The truth is that this is going to be the third or fourth time that Cardano will have to work with the exchanges and get their code updated. So I think at this moment in time, they really talk the same language. So if you ask me, and this is only my opinion, I don't have facts or information at support. This is just a feeling. I do think that there could be, and again, this is only my opinion, so no food, no nothing, please just take my words as just as a sentiment. While the sentiment and the confidence is really, really high, I do think that there could be a little bit of a delay compared to the original dates that were announced. We are not talking months, we are talking maybe a couple of weeks. So if we were thinking beginning of September, I can see a slip towards mid-September or late September at the latest. But I think the crucial bit is going to be when we switch to Alonzo Purple, and we're not that far away. Switching to Alonzo Purple will give really, really a strong feeling on or where we're at and where we will be in a few weeks' time.
That's exciting stuff.
Thank you, Giovanni. That's a great answer, very diplomatic. Sorry for putting you on the spot, but I think sometimes we are so desperate for dates, and I don't know why we do this to ourselves. We put a date and then we kind of crucify ourselves around that date. Cardano has always been a case of we build quality, and that's what I love about Cardano. It's what got me into it. I don't know if anyone saw, was it Zilliqa that went down the other day? Some other chain goes it's just, for me, how can you take something seriously if the mainnet goes down? So I think with Cardano smart contracts, if it comes out 2 weeks later or even 2 months later, I don't really care. For me, it's if the quality is there, like with Shelly, when Shelly launched, the quality was amazing. And as someone who started the stake pool literally when the mainnet launched, we haven't been down, and it's been great. So there's obviously some delays or glitches where I think the main one at the moment, and we have to be fair, the main one at the moment is the calculation of rewards at the end of every epoch, and that causes some glitching or delays for some people. So that's having been worked on. But coming back to smart contracts, I feel very relaxed about it. And I've just seen the quality of what's been put out before. I've seen the quality of what's already being done in the testnet. And again, it's good to emphasize that we're doing all the learning, all the experimenting on the testnet rather than on a mainnet with other people's money. And I think there's it's just about integrity for me. I just don't think it's right to put out something into the market space as though it's a finished product when it's not. So with Cardano smart contracts, I'm really excited. One question for you, Giovanni, before I let you, take other questions. We saw the split in the Cardano Alonzo phase purple from purple to light purple and dark purple. Now, do you have any more insights on that? What led to that, and what's the difference between the two stages?
I think it's all related to all the other services that live around the Cardano node and the so-called API that is basically a piece of software that needs to live in multiple projects and repositories. So I think they eventually, in due course, they realize that maybe it does make sense to create some smaller environment in which they can make if you want to test too many things, you end up maybe not giving the same quality that you were talking earlier on. So I think that they want to make another couple of stages where they can test in isolation, I don't know, GraphQL or DB-Sync or these other components that are not part of the core Cardano node that will go on and just work even without those other components. But then you will not have that easy to access and inspect the blockchain as you have now. So you think all the explorers that we have, if GraphQL or DB-Sync doesn't work perfectly fine, you will have issues in accessing the blockchain. I think they're learning from the past, and so in order to make this thing smoother and better, they are introducing another stage, so that they can test components in isolation. I do want to highlight what you were saying, and I just want to reinforce what you were saying about the quality. And is that unfortunately in the past week I haven't been as active on the testing of Alonzo, and I apologize with the community, but I have had other main priorities to look after. But I went back today just to take a look at who was testing blockchain, the blockchain and the smart contracts, and I'm actually seeing I can't make names, but a couple of DEXs. A couple of developers from a couple of DEXs that are filling our Twitter timelines. And these guys were asking very big questions. And there was a very lively conversation with the Cardano engineers. And so I do think they are already pushing Alonzo quite a bit. So I'm very confident that those guys, I've been working with George. George is an unbelievable legend. This guy has been studying Haskell by himself for years, and he's been helping me to do a little bit of testing. And this guy's an absolute legend. And he was talking about transaction size, smart contract size, those kind of things. And I was just like, dude, these guys, they really know what they're doing. And it really looks like they're doing things the proper way. So again, 2 weeks delay, if it happens, it really doesn't mean anything, as long as the quality is there.
Yeah, and I think this is, I guess many people ask about dates because they assume that somehow the market is going to respond exactly how they want so they can play that price movement. Because ultimately, let's be honest, that's why people are asking. Because if you weren't worried about price, you wouldn't really care about the 2 weeks, because chances are most people are not going to launch anything on that day, or you're not going to use anything on that day. There's nothing that you're waiting for that you can't do because of this thing, right? If you want to launch a product, you can get it ready for that launch. And if it's 2 weeks or, look at other major software releases. I remember also Windows. Windows is a great example because they always used to name it with years. Then they moved away from that because they kept slipping the date so much. So you didn't have like Windows 99 in 2002, 2003 because the dates were always delayed. So they changed, the marketing department changed their names to like Windows 7 and stuff like that because it just became easier. They took some of their own pressure away in a sense. So, yeah, I'm really excited about what's going to happen. And thank you for the update. I thought that was really good. It gave us some insight. And it's nice to be able to hear from a human voice, someone who's had first-hand experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Giovanni. That was awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you.
It's nice to be here. I hope I didn't put anyone to sleep.
No, that was great. It's good to remember that the arbitrary logic, that's what you said, right? Like it basically just means contracts. Like, what's being built on Cardano is basically it'll just become the blockchain backup for your existing contracts and then for any new contracts going forward, and it's cool to talk to somebody who's actually helping make that possible. So thanks for sharing.
No problem. Thank you. And if there is any other question, just
please, if anybody else has a question, just request to speak.
Should we do some shameless plugging for 20?
Shameless plugging of what exactly?
Epochs End. So just if anybody's listening, this is a cry for help. Can you share this space? Because that helps with listener numbers and other people can see that we're live. So if you could do that, that'd be much appreciated. It's a bottom right-hand corner on my Android, so most people should be similar. If you click on that, share, you can then share it via tweet, and then all your followers will see that we are live. So that'd be very helpful if you can. Sorry, Fortune, you may continue.
I was just going to say I gave Jason Pecoro speaking ability. Welcome, Jason. I don't know if you're able to speak. Well, if you'd like to, you're welcome to. If anybody else, Bullish Dumpling, I know you have, you talked about a no FUD China report for this Epochs End, and maybe a little update about some other exciting stuff going on. Just get Bullish Dumpling speaking ability. Hello, Dumpling. Yes, welcome.
Thank you. I was just retweeting about this space.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Giovanni, for the date. I know the Chinese community will love the update because they love dates, specific dates. I think I'll bring you today a more light-hearted China epochly update because it's market dip day.
Sounds good.
So earlier I tweeted about this as well. So I'll give you a very quick summary. Basically, I summarized what the Chinese Cardano community has been saying today and this weekend over the market dip. In very short, brief points, they are telling each other to stake and forget. And they're saying now they can buy more ADA. They can hodl for at least 10 years, thinking for long term. And overall, the sentiment is staking over trading. Very interestingly,
Wow.
we got our youngest Chinese Cardano community person. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm a high school student. I'm so happy I can buy ADA." And the group was like, "Go do your homework, learn about Cardano, and then come back."
That is really cool, though. So it's the sentiment among the Chinese Cardano community is pretty much the same as the diehards around the world, which is you just get it in your own wallet and you stake it, you delegate it, and you make returns every 5 days.
Yeah, I can see definitely a mentality shift from when I started making videos and a few months later now. I see a significantly higher level of enthusiasm in staking ADA. I think it's partly due to the community's education. So much educational material has been out there about Cardano staking, how it's easier than people think, how it's much safer than people think. So recently, from both my Telegram Chinese group and to my video comment section, people are just saying, yeah, they want to know more about staking. But previously, people had a lot more doubts, questions about why don't we stake with Binance? What about those big multiple numbered pools? But now people are really shifting the mentality, and it's a really great time to see, even during market dips, they're still holding strong and wanting to stake.
I guess nothing makes a market dip easier to bear than getting more ADA deposited in your wallet every 5 days, regardless.
Yeah, and it's not locked, and you have your own private key. You can vote. I mean, I don't see the benefit of staking with Binance.
There's definitely more risk involved too than people realize. I think a lot of people do it because they feel it's safer, but it's
I think
historically
for me,
less.
What I try to say, and I think this is probably the simplest way to say it, like Binance is just CZ's wallet. Like, do you understand what that means? You're basically putting your money or your assets into CZ's wallet because you're trusting him not to have a boating accident in an industry where people have boating accidents very regularly.
Yeah, and we have this theory, like usually people have the problem of withdrawal ADA from on certain days. So we're just guessing, is it because he wants the snapshot so people can't withdraw during those times?
It would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Didn't you have an update, Dumpling, about the brooches?
Yeah, thank you for asking so I can have this super smooth, not awkward, non-shilly commercial here in Epochs End.
No, you're spreading good information about different jewelry items.
We're not getting paid, so it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so everyone, thank you for the support and love for the Cardano jewelry series that we created. For those who are unfamiliar, Nanipo and I created a series of high-quality Cardano jewelry. So it's 25 silver pieces with 18 karat gold plating. Each one you can wear them either as a brooch or as a pendant necklace or as a lapel pin. So it's very multi-purpose and unisex Cardano jewelry. What makes it really special is each piece has its own unique NFT, CNFT minted for it, and has its unique name and number. So this Thursday, our second auction will be live. We are going to be putting number 14 out for auction on Thursday because we're celebrating the Alonzo hard fork, which happened on July 14th. So it's quite meaningful. So if you want to show your love and pride for Cardano and grab a Cardano-themed high-quality jewelry, please check out our auction and get yourself a piece. You can find a link in my Twitter page. And as of now, we have only 18 pieces left for public auction. So thank you.
Oh, and how's your stake pool doing? if you're going to shield, go do the full catalog. How's the stake pool?
Well, stake pool is growing. I think this mini whale really did magic. Part of a lot
Have
of
they
interest
stayed?
coming from is from the mini whale. Yeah, I think it's still staying.
That's good. So you'll get a good few blocks then. That's nice to see.
Fika pool, FIKA, is Bullish
Couple, thank
Dumplings
you.
stake pool for anyone who doesn't know, and their current live stake is 3.62 million. That's very impressive.
Thank you for tuning in.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, and happy Epochs End, everyone. And Guru, please don't break our eardrums.
It's not time yet. I almost forgot. But thank you for reminding me.
No.
A3C, what's up? Welcome. Lead time. Welcome, guys. Feel free to say hello.
How's it going, guys? Sorry I've been missing for a while. I've been on vacation. Actually, today's my anniversary, so I just popped in, wanted to say hi and welcome everyone, and it's great to be back.
That is commitment, Sean. That is commitment. It's appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Shout out.
Listen, guys, I would have been here on my vacation, but the internet was terrible at the cottage we rented. It wouldn't even support it. It was crazy.
Well, we forgive you.
Thank you very much. I wanted to actually just mention a little bit something like Bullish Dumplings mentioned about our CNFTs. If anyone doesn't know anything about the Hoskinson's environment, it's pretty cool. Check that out too. I just started buying them. Their whole ecosystem for buying, auctioning, and checking the rarity and value, it's streamlined. I just put out a tweet showing how to do that very easily, almost like a portal to show you where to go. It's very cool. The NFTs on Cardano are growing, and it's very exciting. You're right, Dumpling.
You know what else is exciting is A3C pool has a current lifetime luck of 212%. So that's kind of exciting.
Yes, thank you very much.
On that.
Congratulations.
Nice little stat there.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're slowly growing and building.
420, do you have like an editor behind you there? You're getting some good stats out on time today. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I realized I can be in a Twitter space and kind of look at my phone and also have my laptop and I can just split my focus on two different things. I struggle with that sometimes, and I don't think the weed helps,
yeah.
but
see that day, there was that
learning.
day you didn't turn up for about half an hour. Do you remember 420? Because that was scarred into my memory, and I can't get over it.
I do remember that. I felt guilty.
And I had to host, and I remember all the buttons were flashing, looked like Christmas. I felt really old, I didn't know what I was doing. And it went quiet for like 10 minutes. It was horrible. Oh, it was horrible. To all the people who were listening on that day, my apologies.
You won't have to go through that again, Guru.
Thank you for Sony. That's reassuring. But yeah, so I'm impressed you're doing so much, with so many screens open. I literally just have like my phone, my headphone, and I'm just trying to listen and trying to understand what's going on. Like there's a lot happening in Cardano. Like it's overwhelming. I recently tried to get back into Catalyst, and it was like, wow, this it's overload. So yeah, thank you all for sharing. That's why I'm here. Like I want to share with you guys. I want to listen to what you're saying, trying to learn a bit. Maybe you can learn a bit, and it's awesome. So anyway, enough of me preaching. Anybody else want to speak?
Yeah, can I jump in for a sec?
Hero, welcome. Yes, sir.
Hero, what's going on?
What's up, guys? Hey, I just wanted to shill a new Discord that's out there. It's called the Epochs End Discord. Come hang out after the show, before the show, during the show. If you have a question and you don't want to ask over talking, come ask it in the chat.
It's a great recommendation, Hero, and there's a bunch of great spots to kind of flesh out ideas and talk to people, share information. I'm really excited about the Discord. That's a good call, Hero.
This Discord you talk of, it sounds amazing. Obviously, people who created that must be amazing people. As someone who knows nothing about this, obviously, it sounds amazing. How do I get in? Where do I go to get a link? That's what everybody wants to know. How do I find this Discord?
It's a good question. I mean, we should probably pin an invite to the Twitter account, huh?
Yeah, I'll tweet it here in a minute when I get to my computer.
Beautiful.
And if we can pin it and if everybody can retweet it, that would be great.
Yeah, so if you're listening, you can do some testing and see if the link works and come say hello. It's quite cool. It's better than chatting on Twitter, I found out, but it can be overwhelming and you can spend a lot of time there. So before you go into that dark hole, You're warned.
Well,
It's
and
nice, it's familiar, it's fun, but most things that are fun, don't do it for too long.
I was gonna say the Discord for me, in my own personal experiences, it's just about being in the right groups, right? If you
Yeah.
accept every invite to every group and you jump into everything, all of a sudden it's just a giant, mess in there. But what I really like about the Epochs End, and shout out to everybody who worked on that. It was Noah's Ark. James, was it? Noah, yeah, James
I
helped a
think
lot. Thank
James
you.
is
Shout out
listening. If he
Hero
wants
Pool.
to,
But
sorry, Podwin, I
it's
don't
a
want to
great
talk over
place to
you.
get everything Cardano.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
was
we
just
have
saying,
the channels really set up for that, and it's a really good place. You can kind of have it be your one-stop shop, and obviously we don't sign
Podcast.
off on every exchange. We can't verify everybody, but the idea of it is to be all things Cardano, just like the Epochs End show. So um, I'm excited
and we're
about
keeping
that.
it chill. We're keeping it chill.
Super chill. Some would
Exactly. It
maybe
has to
would say
be.
too chill.
Otherwise, I don't know. Is that possible? If it gets too chill, we'll do some quantum computing for free.
Chill
There you
chill
go.
to a fault.
Can I say something about the Discord? Actually, I use a lot of social media. I'm just getting into it, and I have to say Discord is one of the most impressive ones I've ever used. The integration, it's just everything just works. Like I was sharing my screen with some friends. One guy was on Mac, one guy was on Android, one guy was on a PC, and it worked flawlessly. And just the way it communicates and collaborates, it's really well done. So yeah, Discord was a good choice.
Awesome. So yeah, if anybody is listening, you want to come and join the community, because ultimately that's what it is, isn't it? It's a group of people to kind of share interests. So come say hello, and everyone's quite nice there, and anybody who's not gets booted quite quickly. So don't worry.
Can I say one more thing, Guru, and then I got to go for my anniversary dinner. um,
That's a terrible excuse for leaving.
we're adding some new videos, or we've already added some new videos to our website to teach people how to do things in the crypto space. If people want to learn, please visit our YouTube channel and see free videos on how to do things safely and properly. That's it, guys.
You rock. Thank
All
you
right,
Also,
for
guys.
thanks, Sean. Much
Yep,
appreciated. Love the
yep.
commitment. Have a good evening.
You too, guys. See you later.
going for
Oh,
anniversary
Fortuny,
dinner,
I was
man.
just going to say, I don't know
Get
if
your
James
priorities
wants to
straight.
speak. Yeah, I don't know if James wants to speak. He helped me a lot with the Discord. If he wants to have speaker request and say hello, yeah,
Okay.
floor is open. Yeah, who wants to speak next?
Any new speakers want to come up? What about Benjay? Benjay got to interview the legend himself, the guru, for his show.
Oh, is
Which I gotta
Benji
say,
on?
if you're starting a new Cardano show, to have the guru as your first guest, I mean, that's strong. That's real strong, Benjay. I don't know if you want
Uh,
to come
Benji
come
impressed me, so
come
I'm going to
talk.
say some nice things about Benji. This is not purely because he interviewed me first, as flattering as that was. Basically, like, I was shocked by the fact that he's only 18. I don't know if he likes me saying this or not, but he did say it in his own podcast. Therefore, I'm sure he's okay with me saying it. But as a young gentleman, he came across very well. He spoke very maturely. He understood the concept. He listened very well. He understood, and he asked me interesting questions. And I was
It's
very
high
impressed.
praise, Benjay. High
Yeah,
praise.
Hey, thank
it
you.
got me to up my game. So now I'm like, when I'm speaking, I'm going to channel my inner Benja, I want to speak clearly and with a bit of depth. I love that. When I listened back to the interview, I was very impressed. So well done, Benja.
Thank you, man. And it was really great to, just have that conversation. And you were really like a lot of insight. So appreciate that too. But yeah, I'm
Oh,
just
thanks, Benja. How are your different channels doing? Because I see you're very active. You've got like a podcast, you've got your YouTube, you're still on Twitter as well. You're here talking to us. So how's it all going? And how do you find all the time for it?
um, that's a good question. Well, I spend a lot of time mostly editing and then just content creation and then really keeping up with Cardano is a lot, but also on top of making videos and doing stuff with. So really, the podcast is I'm so excited for it because it's a means of meeting people and also like learning on top of that. So it's like two in one, which is and I appreciate your time, man, as the first person on there.
That's been my experience too, Benjay. Is you're learning And the Cardano community is nobody's perfect, you know, but the Cardano community, as far as a group of people to be able to learn from, just from my own experience, I mean, I'm so grateful that I found the project when I did, because I've learned so much about not only Cardano and blockchain, but just kind of peripheral topics that are so valuable to me already, you know. So I see what you're saying. You get to meet new people, you get to learn new stuff. It's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Sorry I haven't been here for a few weeks. Like you said,
It's okay. We don't do
We'll get
emotional
over it.
blackmail, but you know, we're not disappointed. We're not. Yeah, we're deeply, deeply upset, NJ. There's a register with your name on it, you know.
We got Aya the King is here in the space. I don't want to put him on the spot, but
The floor is always open for the
yeah, the
bird.
floor is
That's
open.
the
Let's
that's
just take 30 seconds of silence just to let him
Pretty
know,
much.
hey, we're all ready and we're waiting for you. I'm just kidding. But yeah, Aya the King, if you ever want to speak, please jump in. We want to make real Cardano news here. We want to do stuff that actually matters in this space. So having the birds speak here for the first time would be absolutely historic. Happy Epochs End, everybody. 278 has come to a close. We are now in Epoch 279. Thank you, Guru, for that really, really tasteful, delicate bell ring. That was nice.
I have no idea how it sounds. I'll find out later.
Yeah, that one was good.
It's
I like
pretty
that one.
gentle. It's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that was your best one yet, I think.
Is it because no one could hear it?
No.
No,
It went for
yeah,
the-
it's nice. It's a nice effect. It's just, you know, too much of a good thing, like we were talking about, you know. But
How about we
does
do
anybody?
Happy Epochs
We
End,
talk about
and
the
enjoy your
Alonzo.
rewards.
Yeah,
What was
happy.
that lead time?
How about we do a segue from since we're in the middle of the Alonzo White and moving forward, everything is great progression. Let's segue that into talking about Ethereum. Make sure we take that box. And what
Ethereum.
is we have to look forward to when the smart contracts are hitting mainnet, and how is it actually distributed
Has
from
anyone seen a Ethereum stake pool in the wild?
No, I haven't seen one. I heard rumors about them.
Is there a date, or are they just going to keep breaking things until something magic happens?
Yeah, but you know, it's kind of, you've seen South Park, right? The underpants gnomes. So you know, like step 1, stake ETH 2.0. Step 2, step 3, profit in the flippening.
Yeah. Well, and I've just avoided. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know enough about it, honestly. Ethereum staking to me does, without being rude, it does sound like just kind of a funny phrase.
The first rule of staking.
Love to be wrong
The
about
first
that.
rule of staking is if you don't hold your own keys, it's not staking. It's some rubbish custody deal. You're giving money to somebody and hoping they give it back to you. And that's not what we're here for. That's not what crypto is about. So don't do that to yourself. If you don't have your own keys, it's not staking.
It's a good point.
Absolutely.
And it's what we talked about last week as far as, you know, it's almost Cardano can be so empowering for the ADA holder that it, even as a stake pool operator or someone who's active in the community, you can still forget our place, you know, in the protocol. And Cardano gives us such a unique ability by holding it and being able to choose which pool we delegate to and which project we vote for in Catalyst and soon what we vote for, you know, with Voltaire and everything. It makes it seem to me like it would be best practices at any business. This is not financial advice, to implement whatever type of contract system they have on Cardano. It seems like it would just be best practice if it was any type of entity with any. I guess you could speak to this, Guru, but don't you think it's going to get to a point once Alonzo hits where it's just going to be viewed as irresponsible, really? Maybe not irresponsible, but if you were choosing ETH over Cardano to back up vital, you know,
I'll tell you the key point to look out
directories
for.
and files.
At this point, your premonition would be true. And this is when the ISO standards change and they say ISO, 5,000, 10,000, whatever the number they have. And it will say the best practice is to put your crucial data and preserve the fingerprint or the hash so that you can confirm that it was created onto the Cardano blockchain. And the moment that happens, it might be 10 years away, it might be 5 years away, but for me, I think that will eventually happen. It's why I don't sell much of my ADA. Like, I see the long game, and I think in the corporate world, when people try to do blockchain, they're getting into a lot of pain at the moment because Ethereum is painful, not just for the user, but for the developer, for everyone. Everyone's hoping for this great savior to come along, and at some point, ETH 2.0 is going to fix everything, but there's no date. I don't know about the progress. Like, okay, that's my fault. Maybe I should be doing more research, but last time I checked, there's no live stake pools. So I think from the institutions, the corporate world, governments, you want something that you look at and go, this thing works, it's going to work. There's no uncertainty. Because for those type of players looking at archives, they need to know that you're not going to die or block or freeze in like 6 months because one of your developers, I don't know, had an exciting day or something. Like, that's the level of risk that this group of users can't take.
So compare that to what you would currently experience if you're developing on Ethereum, and then you juxtapose that with essentially having, like, you know, the freaking Plutus playground, and you can go in there and see exactly how these contracts are going to behave, and you know what I mean. And very soon you'll be able to have a Hydra head where you can do 1 million, transactions a second. It's just, it's. And this is like kind of maximalist speak here, and I don't mean for it to be. This is just me being realistic and like honest with myself. The way Bitcoin has become ubiquitous when you talk about blockchain to someone who, quote unquote, uninitiated, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be introduced to Cardano as the de facto standard, and Bitcoin will be introduced secondarily as like, oh yeah, this, you've probably heard of it. This was kind of the forebearer to this. But every sign I see in the community tells me that's where we're heading,
Here's the thing. I think most of the users for Cardano will never know what Cardano is. And I'm okay with that because what would most likely happen is a lot of people would build applications, protocols on top, and those are the ones who go do the marketing, and those are the brands that will be known.
Good point.
It's like there is no internet brand, right? There's things that run on the internet. So for me, that would be the real sign of success. Like at that point, like nobody cares about Cardano because it's just infrastructure, it works. And ironically, I think a lot of the more valuable stuff will be the stuff that's built on Cardano because the closer you are to the user, the more close you are to the value. And that's what we've seen historically. So that's my, bit of trying to see the future, but who knows? Who knows? That's why I'm in. That's my investment thesis.
That's a good point.
I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. Like, how many people even in this call understand how TCP/IP works? Like, really? Like, I'm willing to bet probably the majority doesn't, but we're still very happily using all the applications that are made available to us.
I'll volunteer that I do not have a good understanding of the functions. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. Like, you don't need to, because somebody builds abstractions on top of it on rock solid foundations that just works. Or like Sean A3 brought up earlier, like with Discord, like it's amazing. Like this just works cross-platform. All these amazing things that you take for granted, but you can't do that without granite foundations. And that's exactly what Cardano is building up, and that's exactly what Ethereum is not.
This is a question. I have a question kind of for the space. I was thinking, do you think, is there potential for there being a role, almost like a financial advisor, but you get hired to help people? I mean, I'm sure this exists already. What is this called? Where you help them implement blockchain in their workflow for whether it's like a bakery or a cattle rancher or a factory, exactly. Blockchain consultant. And I got to print up some business cards.
420. I'm not joking. Seriously, the amount of knowledge that people have and they don't realize how far they are. In the corporate world, in the institutional world, you would be seen as like a blockchain expert, and you could pitch yourself there and do quite well.
Something to consider, huh? I mean, the idea to me would be that could be a really boring job if you did it the wrong way, but I think if you approached it almost as, I'm going to try to help, small businesses that I actually care about and that I actually think will benefit from blockchain, immediately, have some immediate benefit that will help their business, not just I'm going to just take a fat paycheck and do whatever they ask me to do and I don't care how it works out, but to actually help, businesses that maybe are on the bubble right now. They're just not able to make it meet economically, but they have a good idea and they have
Yeah.
demand, but it's just,
I think if you're curious about where the value is going to be for the individual and how they participate in the network, maybe not directly in consensus, but in other ways. One good example is look at the open source software world where people contribute and there's ways to monetize without having to take over or ownership of the software or the protocol. So I think that's a good model to look at.
creating open source kind of like Git folders for different types of businesses that, because I guess, yeah, if you're helping one restaurant translate their business onto blockchain, it would be probably pretty similar for the next restaurant. And same
Yeah, I
with,
think that's the beautiful thing about an open source system is that whatever you create is suddenly available for everyone to use. And so you don't have to rush yourself, right? You can just say, look, hold on, my idea is this one particular thing. And whether it takes me 5 years or 10 years, once I create it, it'll be available to everyone. And in the meantime, somebody has to create something better. That's great. They can try their model, and there's no need to sort of worry or try to compete. And it's a very different ethos and different energy, and it's energy that I like. So that's why I'm here. And I like open source. So whenever somebody says to me, we have patents on this, and this, I'm like, well, I'm not interested. That's a dead world. That's a dead end.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
If anybody wants to snort a fat line of hopium, just go look at the graphs of engagement on stuff like Facebook versus MySpace or Google versus Yahoo, and see like when they actually first really took off, just how quickly they completely surpassed the competition.
Well, and this is a big moment, without being a toxic maximalist. I think once smart contracts go live, it does feel like I don't want to abuse this word, but we've entered a new epoch on blockchain. For me, as a casual observer who is a student of blockchain myself, do not claim to be, but in my mind, from what I'm seeing since 2017 till now, and again, I'm not an expert, but it feels to me like, okay, this has all been leading up to this point. And that sounds hyperbolic maybe, but it feels that way to me. It feels like it's all been building to smart contracts on Cardano.
It is a major milestone. I think for me, the first milestone was Shelley because it decentralized the network, it allowed people to participate, and it gave ownership of the network to a wider community. But for many people, until smart contracts go live, for them, Cardano is not finished, but hasn't really delivered its main promise. So once we see smart contracts with a proof of stake blockchain, there will be very little else to criticize it from that group. And remember, many people in that group don't believe that this thing is possible. They still question proof of stake, even though it's been had peer review, it's been checked, and they've said, look, it has the same security properties as Bitcoin. So Cardano proof of stake is as secure as Bitcoin, while Ethereum proof of stake is not going to be. And that's something I don't think people really think about often enough, because why am I going to go to a version 2 of your system that's still not as secure as this other option that I have? People entering the space, people who are going to come into the space as users, have no loyalties. And that's important to remember.
It makes me realize that the great advantage of ETH was that they got, and Vitalik had the epiphany of the smart contract maybe initially. I guess that's debatable. But anyways, he kind of guided that through with Ethereum. But that initial advantage of they got to it first, as soon as contracts go live on Cardano, that's gone. Okay, then what do we have to do? The only thing you can do is compare the way the two work, right? And so I guess I just should withhold my excitement, and wait to see it actually deployed. But from what I've seen and what we heard from Giovanni today, and just overall the presentation of the developments from what I've seen is just so exciting, so insanely bullish.
I'll open the cold shower for you just to counterweight the expectations there. So I do think in retrospect, when we look back, that the mainnet launch of smart contracts is going to be a new epoch, as you say, pun intended. But I think in practice, when it happens, it's going to be a slow roll and it's going to be a slow burn, because the really, really big value of Cardano is its stability and resilience. And it's going to take some time for the various companies, collaborations, and developers to really build up the kind of like the applications that we can't even imagine. Like what's going to be the biggest dApps in 5 years from now? Like no idea. They're not going to be there on day one. They're not going to be there within 3 years, 6 months. But I do think like it's going to start building and it's going to start compounding, and after a while, it's going to be evident to everybody that it's reached the point of no return, that it's going to surpass any other competitive platforms.
Well, regardless of that, that's a good point. And regardless of how it all rolls out, because that's more than likely. But the most popular business card in the United States is about to be blockchain consultant. Like I bet you every real estate agent, golf coach, everybody's switching their business card over to blockchain consultant. And I might be one of them, because just the applications that Cardano presents in the most basic form, like what will come standard when this goes live, what has been kind of promised is these like white label dexes and these, white label auctioning systems that you can basically just deploy on your website if you're a business owner right away. You can, and it'll be good to go, and you know what you're getting, you know how it works, and you can go in and make alterations later. It's just, to me, I mean, there's so much potential right out of the gate, and it is a matter of, I just think there's a lot of money to be made. Just doing something as simple as helping a family farm restaurant start doing their accounting processes on blockchain. And I know there's trade-offs and whatnot, but
I think there's so much value just within the monetary side as a financial system. We don't even have to go into the stage of like supply chain, and because I think when you have something that's blockchain native, it's a lot easier to manage, produce, and service, as opposed to when you go off chain. So wherever there's that bridge from on chain to off chain, you have all sorts of points of weaknesses. So for me, like I think if you're just raising capital, for example, you could basically go in as a consultant to a small business, say, look, do a token raise. And at some point, I think we will get regulatory clarity to the point where, they'll be able to do peer-to-peer equity raises without too much financial legal complications. I don't see that being too far away. Eventually, someone's going to do it.
Like an initial mom and pop shop offering.
Exactly. So you want to open a bakery, you want to raise 100,000, you do 100,000 tokens, and you promise to pay your profits, and then you'd be able to pull that contract from a legal suite once somebody figures out the details. And I don't see that being that far away.
If that company is using blockchain for their accounting already, it would seem like a really good proposition to a potential investor, because they could say, I know I have access by buying this to perfect accounting, if they're doing their business in ADA on smart contracts.
They could keep everything very transparent. If they were more tokenized and you could see the revenues for the token, then that's a benefit. But I think we don't have to kill all the problems in one go. Sometimes if you just do one thing very well at the beginning, that's enough to get you going.
What's the one thing, Guru, that you think, if you were a blockchain consultant, that you would go around pitching to businesses, or that like, hey, I can do this one thing and it's going to make your life simpler, and then from there they catch the blockchain bug?
I think it's going to be different for everyone, but you just have to figure out like your niche, like how do I add the most value with the least amount of pain? And I think for me, like I'm looking at my history, and I'm like, look, I want to do decentralized insurance. I can see a lot of value in that. But I think look at what interests you and see how you can add the most value, but don't try to solve things that everybody always goes for the things that they think people want solved, but most businesses don't care about their accounting. They care about money coming in. They care about revenue. They care about having capital flows so they can invest in things. And if you can solve that problem, like go with that.
So help the businesses increase revenues. That's what they ultimately want. That's what
and
mom and pop to a corporation.
Most small businesses are hampered by lack of capital. What I mean by that is if you want to get a bigger machine to produce something, or you want to get bigger premises, you want to invest in things that would make you more productive, you can't, because the banks will only give you money if you've got money at the moment.
So upon some further clarification, you approach businesses and you go, hey, if you guys got a big expense or a big asset purchase or a big investment, and you're not sure how you can come by the money.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you,
let's do something on the blockchain.
Yeah, I don't want to criticize the foundation too much, but basically that's what the foundation should be doing, right? They should be providing legal clarity And rather than going for what's actually important, which is if you've got a decentralized system, you're removing barriers, right? So what you're saying is you can do it peer-to-peer. There's no a middleman. Therefore, you can go to a much smaller scale. You can basically make it appealing to somebody who wants to raise like $1,000. But instead of doing that, we're kind of going towards big institutions and getting into the old world because that's all they know. And that frustrates me, but let's see how it plays out. I would much rather they came to a jurisdiction and said, we're going to give you legal clarity on how to raise equity using our tokens for anybody of any size. That's more interesting, right?
Yeah, that seems like it would be very, very useful.
Yes. So anyway, I should really put that down somewhere, someone can read it rather than just moaning about it. That's something I tell other people to do. Yeah. So I will maybe put that into a proposal somewhere.
Can I suggest change the topic?
Of course.
So I read that today Jerome, the money printer Powell, and Secretary Yellen, and then Kohl and the whole gang are meeting to discuss regulations of USD stablecoins. So, what's your thought on that? What do you think is likely going to happen? What are they going to be scheming?
They're going to try to centralize control. Whatever their decision is, that's the ultimate goal, I would assume, underlying any other sub-motivations.
Are they going to stand a chance?
I don't think so. I kind of have a feeling that the people at the Fed, at least in the United States, are, I mean, they're intelligent people, obviously. And I think they understand the use case and the potential of blockchain as well as anyone. I think you are in a unique position to understand how incredibly revolutionary a blockchain, technology with smart contracts on top can be. And part of me thinks they're just trying to ride the wave so that the more they try to regulate it, it's only going to end up putting the knife back, into them. So they kind of are just trying to ignore it as long as they can, in my opinion.
Do you know what the
do the least
retirement
amount as
package
possible.
is? Do you know what the retirement package is for these people?
For a Federal Reserve employee?
Yeah, they get very nicely paid, and these are very conservative people, so they don't want to make decisions. What they want to do is pass it on to the next person, survive till retirement, and move on. That's my view of them. So
Yeah,
maybe
just
I'm
wash
wrong
their
there.
hands when they're done.
Yeah, that's why they delay everything, because ultimately you'd have to make a decision. You go to a nice meeting, you get paid, you dress up. They're human beings. They're not
You
magical
go on
beings, right?
TV.
Yeah, they
People
get to
care
dress
about your
up, they
opinions
get
on shit.
paid. They're not some miracle workers. Most of them probably don't even understand half the stuff they say, right? Let's be honest. So they get dressed, they get paid, and they get a nice retirement package. Why are they going to make tough decisions? They're not. They're going to try to pass it on for as long as they can. And that's what's going to cause the problem to get worse, and eventually they won't be able to fix it, and crypto will take over. That's my prediction, anyway.
Being the Federal Reserve chief is like being the head of public relations for a giant banking cartel. I mean, you have like one of the most unforgiving jobs that if you really apply, especially now in the modern age, maybe there was some use and utility for it 100 years ago. But as of right now, your job is to just run PR for an obsolete product that has had serious negative consequences. I mean, it has had benefits as well, but especially if you look at things in totality around the world, I think most people would say the US dollar and the Federal Reserve has not done the most good for the most people. Although, I mean, I'd be open to the opposite end of, that perspective. But
I could steelman the case. I mean, you could argue
please,
that what the US dollar has offered through the 20th century of great benefit to a large amount of people outside of the US is much more liquid alternative to the gold standard. And so, reduction of friction allows for more value to be actually going to whatever it's being spent on. Heaps of problems still, and monetary policies that are strong arming people into geopolitical wishes, etc. But I don't think it's been all downside for sure, but it is also becoming increasingly clear that it's a story of the past, and it's no longer the case that the US dollar is helping the global economy prosper.
And it's not necessarily anything to do with the United States of America. It's just more to do, in my opinion, with you have to have hard money. You just have to. And money that is not hard does not have one of the basic things that you need for it to be effective over time. I think, right? I mean, and so it just seems to me like if you're the head of the Fed, your job is basically just to do a little song and dance to kind of distract people from that fact of like, hey, the money's not hard. And we have all these calculations and theories about why that's okay. But historically, you cannot insulate yourself from the effects of other people having harder money than you. You always end up losing. You can't, I mean, again, in the long term, who knows how much longer the United States dollar will be dominant. But
a really interesting thing that I learned not too long ago is that back when the gold standard was still in effect before 1970, it was actually standard practice in business contracts that the compensation would be specified as, I'll do this work for you and you will pay me back $100,000, or the equivalent, so and so many ounces in gold, whichever one is highest. And so that got made illegal when they went off the gold standard, because of course they couldn't really have that. But I think we're going to be seeing a return to that now when we have hard money and on the blockchain. I think that is going to become the framework that keeps the country currencies in check. Because I think that countries are still going to be running their own monopoly money for the next couple of decades. But I think that the blockchain is going to create a framework that can keep it in check and then secure the sovereign individual.
I hope that blockchain too, in that same vein, will introduce, as it has kind of introduced me to the idea of really the pursuit of money is more or less a disease, right? Like if you look at it broadly, I mean, if you want to contribute value to society and make money doing it, that's obviously very different. But there's a difference between an obsession with money and accumulating more of it, and then an obsession with your work, which you feel is helping the world and is contributing to society, and you get rewarded for that. The blockchain has just made me realize the money is useless if we're not communicating with each other and we don't have open dialogue and exchange of ideas and so, and that's what I think maybe the US dollar 100 years ago represented to people when they were using it, was like, oh, I'll be able to express value more efficiently to the people around me, and I'll be able to travel and do that. And, that's a beautiful thing that blockchain is going to give us all, right? So it's just a matter of contributing value to the community around you. And then, the valuation of the currency underlying can change over time, which is the beautiful thing. And ultimately, we can just continue to work in that vein rather than countries competing over resources and this and that.
Yeah, I would add just two things. I think firstly, you remember, crypto gives you global money. It's natively global. There is no local jurisdiction that can lock you out. And with any sort of national money, there's a chance that you could get locked out, or even though you think you're okay, the US could lock your account in another country because they'll have the power to do it. So from a case of self-custody and global money, I think on a future set, that's already winning. Like, forget everything else. The fact that you can vote on Catalyst, or you can stake and get rewards.
Yeah,
purely
just
the
a
fact that you can have
currency that's
digital
non-compulsory. It's not forced upon anyone. It's not.
Exactly.
What is that? Anyways, Charles has said it. It's anyways, so it's non-coercive. So no one's being forced to use ADA at any time. And yet it can become a world currency. It's like every conspiracy theorist's worst nightmare, but then every utopian dreamer's greatest hope at the same time. But that's the important part, is no one's being coerced to use ADA. They'll do it because it makes more sense. It's more efficient. It helps them do the things that they enjoy with the people that they enjoy doing it with, ultimately, which is everybody wants to spend time with their family and go to the park and play the new video games and this and that, and it's all that. That's all it's going to do. It's just going to help you do that.
If we can restructure society a little bit, so we're not chasing digits on a centralized computer, and remember, when you do those things actually really good for you, you're not killing the environment. If you go to work, you're driving, you're moving, but if you spend time with your families, a very low carbon footprint, right? So why are we not doing
so
things that make us
so is
happy?
eating at home, cooking at home, eating at home. It's a pain in the ass, but
it's healthy.
It's a beautiful thing, yeah.
It's good for the mind. It's good for, the family. And I think we've seen so much social breakdown. I don't know if I'm just getting old and miserable, but I see it around me, social breakdown due to stress, workloads, the pursuit of more. And at some point, there's some sort of outlet for it, either it's sickness or crash or something. And I don't know. I just hope people get time to stop and think and go, hold on, I can put my value and assets into this other network that values my contribution better. And it doesn't require me to work and go to an office every day. I can just say, hold on, I can do X, Y, or Z. I do it on this blockchain and they reward me. And that's great. And hopefully that means that we do less, we get more, and the world becomes less polluted and, stops burning through all its resources. The reality, I don't want to sound like an environmentalist, crazy person, but I am a little bit. I just don't want to see the planet get burnt.
He's a Lamborghini-owning environmentalist.
That is
sorry,
a not fully accurate statement.
That was rude. I apologize.
But no, genuinely, I think we should, if we can reduce our consumption of resources purely to have a circular thing that makes one person rich, how much stuff gets bought and thrown away or bought and not used purely because somebody spent millions in marketing. So we have this cycle of money moving, but somebody makes money and we waste resources. That's terrible. And the current financial system incentivizes it.
Imagine a society, right, which we live in one, which to a large extent kind of expresses value, how we relate it to people based on their net worth, how much capital they've amassed. And yet that thing that you use to kind of grade your own personal success is being deflated. They're printing more of that asset, which you use to derive some, importance or meaning in your life. And again, I'm not here to knock anybody, but it's just sad when you really think about it in those terms, because it'll never be enough. They're literally deflating the thing you use to frickin' value yourself.
But here's the thing, right? I can understand people within the system. If you're a banker, you're a credit committee person, you're a central banker, you have an incentive to keep this merry-go-round going. However, if you're outside of that loop where you don't get the fresh printed new money, you have to work for it. And therefore, you're giving your blood, sweat, and tears to stuff that they're printing for free. I don't get that.
And it's another ingenious design element of blockchain, is that it appeals to people who are working and trying to come up with new ideas. Pay me an ADA.
Blockchain
I look forward to that being more acceptable. Pay me an ADA.
It's purely transparent. We know what it is, how much of it there is, and where it is and when. You have no idea what your pounds or dollars are doing when you're sleeping. They could be being lent out to some war criminal doing some crazy shit. If you have your Cardano, you have your keys, that capital is not pumping up or propping up somebody's puppet regime in another country.
Well, and then you have the idea of multi-delegation wallets, which is such a powerful idea when, you consider that the missions and objectives of stake pools will naturally evolve over time as the interaction of the average ADA holder evolves, their interaction with the protocol. And so it's so interesting to me to think that, I mentioned this last time, the idea of my political party subscription. I subscribe to this political party, and my local taxes go to that party because I agree with their platform, and they get audited every year because everything's done on blockchain. And if the money's not going to where I want it to go, I can switch my thing to a different party. Something like that, just so simple, could just be kind of a native, something that just lives on Cardano at such a basic, simple level that could be so
Here's
big.
An interesting thing that's not directly blockchain related, but Estonia used to do this remote EU citizenship thing where you could basically be a digital citizen in Estonia. And it was very smart because it allowed you to get away from all the regulation in your local jurisdiction, do stuff over there, and be a digital nomad to a degree. Obviously, there were challenges, but I expect, and who knows what the future holds, but people will basically be community members of blockchains, and they will be global. And you'll have your local taxes and local jurisdiction, and then you'll have your blockchain jurisdiction. And on there, you'll have your own rating, your credit history, whatever you want. And you can basically pull out a loan from your crypto whenever you want based on your crypto history. You don't have to go through 3 different agencies, find out what somebody's put something strange on it or what have you. So you have full custody of your assets and your own data.
And it's all being updated in real time. You know, you don't have to wait weeks to find out what your score is on this, or you don't have
And
to
it's the
pay a fee to
weekend,
get in
nobody's
here.
working. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. You just know. You just have a dashboard. It's all there.
I can speak some experience with that. So I'm from Denmark natively. There's some really good digital infrastructure there in the government system. It has its own lackings, but like I'm in the process of selling my first apartment that I own back in Denmark, all remotely, and everything considered is really fucking easy because I can just pull out my digital identity authentications and electronically sign all the papers and confirm agreements and everything instantly, no delay or anything. Everything's just correlated together, and so it's really easy for me to imagine, like, you know, when a Teleprism or another blockchain solution like that offers that at an even wider scale, just how seamlessly easy it's going to make everything, and how quickly you get used to it. It's going to be great.
You know, it makes me think, you know, the concept behind, okay, like what are people who want to maintain a centralized authority over a national currency? What are they going to do? What are they going to say? And if you look back at history, what they, you know, for example, if China is to launch its own, you know, people's coin, and it's more of a centralized blockchain solution, it will have some initial benefits over something that might be deployed more, you know, in a more decentralized. I just think maybe it'll be presented as these centralized coins are important because we're going to protect you from scams. You know, if you don't do it official, you know, if you don't have the FBI going through the blockchain and inspecting all your transactions, then you're going to get scammed. And there will be scams on Cardano. They're coming to Cardano. They're going to be all kinds of smart contract scams, all kinds of stuff we can't even think of yet. And that'll be something that's used against it. But that freedom gives you the freedom to do things like that, which is unfortunate. But I think they'll present it in that way. Oh, we'll protect you. Come use our coin. We guarantee you. And that'll be an appealing thing. But also they could say, look at how effective China's coin is. That's why the United States has to do one too. We have to do it just to be competitive. You know, it's your duty. We have to compete with China, and they're doing this great blockchain coin, and it's going super well. And you know, so they'll try to pitch it to us in that way. It's like, oh, it's your patriotic duty to use this coin, and we'll protect you. And I hope the Cardano message will be able to spread far and wide enough so that there will be a Cardano community in China, in Argentina, in America, in Europe, in all the other places I didn't mention. And people can raise, you know, their hand when those discussions start happening and say, actually, I have another solution over here, and it works really great, and it's open source. And
Do you think one will take over? Because I imagine both of them running in parallel. In terms of what capacity each one has, I think that's still to be determined. But I think national governments will still have their own currency purely as, you know, just because the benefits are so huge, they're not going to give up that monopoly. However, they can't stop you from using other things. I think that's going to be the interesting part.
and yeah, I mean, it's just I can't imagine any type of sustainable currency like this that I think people over time, whether it's in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, they're going to realize that there's no reason. If you have monetary policy built into the protocol, the whole idea of a central bank becomes obsolete in an instant. They just poof, they just disappear. And like everything we're seeing from now until that day happens when there is no central banks and everything is just according to protocols that are not coercive, that people can volunteer to be a part of. Until that, it's just a matter of how well can these central banks spin this out and play out this kind of this final curtain call, in my opinion. And the other big question too is which central bank which country is going to have a currency crisis in the age of blockchain? And like, sorry, there have been some already, specifically in like South America, Central America, but like a real quote unquote first world economic, powerhouse, like somewhere in Europe or North America, and their central bank just can't crunch the numbers. They're like, it doesn't work. We got it. We spread ourselves too thin. We need another bailout. And in the age of blockchain, what kind of mass exodus that could trigger, to something like Cardano, when people go, okay, we're doing this again. No, I'm going to try something else,
So, but when I look in the crystal ball I got here in front of me, the answer to it is fairly simple. So it pretty much just comes down to whomever we are referring to in power in a given country, what choice they're going to be making is the choice that will add or preserve the maximum amount of power to those individuals. And so even if that's staying with a dying fiat currency, if they can extend the grasp of power that they have by taking that choice, they're going to be fighting tooth and nail to do that. If they can increase their power by making a revolutionary shift to a global decentralized cryptocurrency and get a lot of power out of that, then they're going to take that opportunity.
And I guess that's a test for the democracy and the systems in place in each respective country. How each respective system is able to grapple with this new technology, and it wouldn't be surprise me if maybe China's perspective and the perspective of non-Western countries might be more ideally suited to this new modern wave of technological advancement. They may be better in a better position to embrace it than maybe like the United States Federal Reserve is.
Oh yeah, but I think like the changes also is not going to be fast by any means. Just think of like landline telephones, right? After like mobile phones became pretty mainstream, like how many years still were people using landline telephones? Like for a decade and a half, before most people have gotten rid of them by now, as far as I know. And even like that, landline telephones didn't have the full weight of the government behind it, trying to make sure that you don't get rid of your landline telephone. So
yeah, it's a good point.
Changing, the infrastructure of our economies is
well,
just
but
your average Bob and Alice are also going to be probably want to stay with the devil that they know, as long as it's not too painful.
It questions too, though, how much, because like I said, I mean, I would definitely concede that there's some incredibly intelligent people at the Federal Reserve and at central banks all around the world, some really bright minds. And, at what point can, what kind of use cases and utility does blockchain have to present before they can no longer honestly convince themselves? Because I mean, it's just to me, it's on the path of an obsolete technology, and that's not Cardano a terrible thing, but it's just like, when can they grapple with that? Yeah,
I'm going to give you a saying. I don't like it, but it reminds me of the hard truth of life. And it's basically, someone says, change does not happen because people change their minds. The old grow old and die, and the young take over.
Well said.
So I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be so bad. Maybe there'll be some adaptability, but change is coming. It's just a question of how fast, where, and when. And
so what you're saying is we break out the guillotine.
Let's do it.
Oh God, no. Before anybody goes off and tries mass slaughter, no.
Anyone who owns a Lambo dies.
Don't. I'm going to sit at home and eat cake.
Anyone who's ever smoked a vape while driving a Lambo, hang them.
Well, who knows? If the world turns upside down, who knows?
People. Just kidding.
But basically, I think the point we're missing is that a lot of these old technological shifts had points of friction and other problems. Like, for example, even the mobile phone system, when it came out, they were relying on the landline's infrastructure to get things in and out. So they had a lot of say over how fast it moved, where it went, what the bills were. Sorry. And they could make your life difficult. I think with cryptocurrency, the beauty is it's an independent system. Now, there are obviously friction points when you're coming on and off the ramp, but what happens when nobody wants to come off?
And that's exactly it. That's the moment when nobody wants to come off, and this is a nice little bow. That's the moment where we say, yeah, government, come over here. Come join us over here. Then you can join the conversation. And it's not about like the crypto elites get to decide. No, it's hey, you guys have to adapt to the systems that the people choose when they're not being coerced, when they don't have a gun to their back, you know, telling them what they have to use and not use. When it's an actual free market for people to decide how these things run, they just have to adapt to what the people want, which hopefully is how it goes down. I mean, that's where my optimistic mind takes it, is that they just adapt to better suit what people want, and now we have a way of verifying it, whereas before we didn't.
When people get into crypto, they understand the benefits of what it offers, the self-custody, the power, what you can do with it. Very few leave, and that's the sign of a growing movement. And everybody listening here, you got in early. This is still very, very early. We're not going to see this hit like mainstream maybe for 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years. Relax, enjoy your day, do what you want to do, buy a bit of crypto, not financial advice. It's for your spiritual enlightenment. And relax, do a bit of value creation, spend time with your family, be happier, and you'll make better decisions.
You will make much better financial decisions, I've found, when your priorities are friends and family, stuff like that. I feel like I'm just in a much better mindset to make prudent financial decisions. Whereas when I think back to a few years ago when I first got involved in crypto, how it feels already, I'm a young man, but like a lifetime ago, as far as just how much I've learned from interacting with not only Cardano, but the community, everything. Just all my interactions all around have been so illuminating. So I definitely recommend it to anyone who's in the space who is thinking about looking into Cardano.
If you still want to have interactions with this beautiful community, go to our Discord. Cardano 420
the Discord
has promised,
is a great place to start. Yes.
Cardano 420 has promised to be there. It's a neutral ground. There's no particular SPO supporting it. Epochs End, Discord. Everybody's welcome. Keep it friendly. Come say hello.
And it's just all things Cardano focused. That's the idea. Just like the space, you know. I mean, everyone's free to just say their opinion on the topic, but we're trying to keep it just Cardano related in there.
Perfect. Cardano 420, I sense that you have to run.
Yeah, I do. I'm getting a little wiggly here. We have another Epochs End this Saturday, people. Are you going to be able to make it to that, Guru?
I'm offended that you asked.
Well, I'm there. I mean, that's what I was going to say. Am I going to have to do it alone? Because, I mean, you're a busy man. I don't know. Okay. Cool.
I am busy, but there's two things about Epochs End that I did at the beginning. I enjoy it, and I'm going to turn up. So those are my two priorities for Epochs End.
Let's do it. And then we got that on the 24th. It's a Saturday. That'll be Epochs End for 279. And real quick before we go, Guru, thank you everyone again for your continued patience with me. Everyone is going to get an Epochs End NFT very soon, but we got to give one away to a listener today, Guru.
Oh, this one, it has to go to James. James pulled up everybody,
great
and he made us do the Discord. So thank you, James, and everyone else who's helping. But just a point of recognition, so give that to James, please.
Thank you very much. And anybody, if you guys have tips on ways that we can make the Discord, I mean, it's pretty awesome, but just more engaging, anything like that. That's the whole idea, is to make it a kind of one-stop Cardano shop where people can share NFTs, talk about the market. It's really cool. It's really coming together. So yeah, shout out to James. Really appreciate your help with that, man. That's awesome. And sounds good. We'll talk to you guys soon this Saturday.
Thank you, everyone.